Hey guys, Jim here. Happy New Year. I had a pretty turbulent end to 2024, but I'm back. So I'm going to kick off 2025 with a video I'd originally planned to film and release for Halloween. I keep finding myself holding off on painting due to wanting to make a video on something, and so rather than put this off anymore, I've done it for my New Year's return. Starting as I mean to go on, I'm returning to Artisan Guild Miniatures. These Undead models are from the February 2021 release, Oldburg Fallen ones, and have been on my to-do list for some time. I typically collect AG models for D&D. They have a particular art style that appeals to me, and what D&D group doesn't need more undead miniatures to fight? I don't like the typical speed painting process, nor do I like pouring hours of time painting models that aren't heroes or give off main character energy. So for my Artisan Guild models, I like to find a sweet spot in between. So this isn't a speed painting video, but I do follow some of that methodology while adding extra details to help the mini pop. I'm going to go through the process I use to paint all of the skeletal soldiers and their mounts. Starting with a black base coat and zenithal prime of white. Then I paint the entirety of the mini with snakebite leather. This is absolutely the lazy man's way of starting, but it keeps all of the models uniform with the same tattered armour appearance. Once dried, I paint the cloth material around the neck and the shoulders, along with the skeleton's trousers, with Blood Angel's red. Then I start basing all of the bone with Storm Vermin fur. It's a very dirty grey brown and works great on skeletons. Everything I paint on the skeletons I then replicate on the horse mounts. I mix some Rakarth flesh into my Storm Vermin fur and proceed to paint all of the bone, giving a bold highlight to any edge, ridge or prominent detail on all the minis. I then repeat the exact same steps back on the horse. For the final bone highlight, I add wraith bone to the mixture, and only painting the top 20% of the bone. I add a little bit of water to assist with smoothness of paint, but when applying it, paint appears rather stark. I found that these stark highlights look good as long as they're consistent across the whole model, so no blending was required. Next, I start highlighting the tattered jerkins with Baylor brown, but leaving some gaps where the folds in the materials are. I then mix Wraithbone with Baylor brown and highlight the exact same areas. I use the same paint on the leather shoulder pad, but dull it back down with Agrak's Earthshade afterwards. My next step was to add a highlight for all of the red. For that, I used Evil Sun's Scarlet and just painted the very edges of all the red material. I then once again took the exact same approach with painting all the cloth on the horses. For the skeleton's weapons, I used Lead Belcher on all the blades and Retributor armour on the hilt. I then wash both with Reikland Fleshshade. That gives it a slightly light rusty tone. Then I used more lead belcher to dot all of the rivets on the armour. Although I didn't record the footage, I also took the time to then paint the chain that's on the horse. I wanted to make these bases interesting and uniform, so I went with a 3 paint colour combination, starting with Nighthaunt Gloom. Then a highlight on 50% of each cobblestone with Rust Grey. And finally, an edge highlight on the last 20% of those cobblestones by adding white scar into the Rust Grey. I feel like these cobblestones do a lot of work for these models and help break all these colours up. I then paint the base rim with Abaddon Black. The next thing I have to work on is the green fire coming out of the horse's mane. I started by painting the whole mane with Wraithbone. Then, I cover all of the white in striking green Scorpion. This is an extremely vibrant green and it works perfectly for all of these sorts of things. I take the exact same approach with the Skeleton Warriors by painting their eye sockets and mouth. Then, a quick edge highlight on the flames by mixing Wraithbone into striking green Scorpion. I paint the mount's hooves with Black Templar. Last thing I need to work on is the fleshy tendons of the horse. I start basing them with Screamer Pink. Then once again, I mix Wraithbone into my paint and start highlighting the tendons. To finish off these skeletons, I apply Plague Bearer flesh to the chest cavity to give a sort of rotten appearance. The final piece I painted as part of this force was the crypt. This is another thing I love about Artisan Guild sets. Each set comes with some kind of themed scatter terrain, which makes them perfect for dioramas or to add to your tabletop games. I painted the crypt the exact same way that I approached the cobblestone bases. Nighthaunt Gloom contrast for the base colour, Rust Grey for the first layer of highlights, then I add white scar to the Rust Grey and create a thinner, more precise highlight over that exact same section. With the stonework complete, the next thing I need to do is move on to the wood, bones and skulls on the front of the crypt. I paint all three with white scar. Then I apply wildwood to the wooden bit. and Agrax Earthshade to all the skulls and bones. Thank you for watching. I had a lot of fun painting these skeletons. I batch painted the majority of them in only just a few hours. And with the time that I put into them, I'm very happy with the end result. If you like this set and don't have a 3D printer, head over to Warrior Prints 3D to get some. And if the undead aren't for you, then I recommend having a look at some of their other sets. I'll leave some links in the descriptions for some of my favourite sets and where to buy them. Last thing from me, if you did enjoy this video, please note that there is actually a part 2 coming next week. Here's a sneak peek.